Hey everybody, we are back at you today with a lower body workout. I'm Dr. Brandon, this is Dr. James. We are My Performance Docs. So this is gonna be 15 minutes long, a little warm up in the beginning. We'll take you through majority of the workout here, about 10 minutes worth, and then a little cool down at the end. So Dr. James is gonna demo this one for us, and the first movement we're starting out with is gonna be 60 seconds, some lateral leg swings. So just loosen up that hip joint, loosen up that hip socket, get some muscles firing. If you remember back to some of the other workouts that we've done, we take the leg out to the side, we got glute medius and minimus here. And then of course, because he's standing on his right leg, that one's getting some work too. So we're gonna do 60 seconds here on the left, and then he'll reverse it 60 seconds on the right. Hopefully you guys have been watching along with us and doing some of the workouts. If you have, congratulations, we're proud of you. Keep following, keep working along. We tried to make this one a little bit of a progression, but nothing too bad. We're gonna do a little bit of jogging in place today, so we'll see how that goes. That should be fun. Get you moving, get your heart rate up a little bit.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, we're pumped. Good stuff.
My hips already getting a little bit fatigued here. I'm feeling a little bit of muscle activation already. So if you are at home, I am too.
Yeah. If you're a little stiff from anything you've done in daily life, yeah, maybe this one feels a little bit tougher than you thought it might. But anytime you got some stiffness from things that you've done, you got some muscle tightness, maybe a little bit of soreness, all normal stuff from moving muscles and using them, especially if it's outside the norm. So moving them again, moving them more, and helping that muscle to contract and relax and pump blood through it, all that kind of helps with recovery. We can do a future video and talk about some recovery stuff, staying well hydrated, another good thing. But just constantly moving, help your muscles recover. All right, so he's switched here, he's got the right leg going. Notice here he's holding onto the wall, hold onto the mat leaning up against the wall. Don't make this a balance exercise. I think it definitely would get a little bit tricky trying to swing one leg, balancing on the other. So be able to focus on the swing, focus on it moving and warming up that leg and not focused on balancing. So hold on to something. Could be a wall, could be a countertop, could be back of a couch, piece of furniture, as long as it's something sturdy. All right, right here at 60 seconds, there's our 60. All right, now he's gonna do a diagonal toe touch. A little bit of a reach. One movement we got in there today is a thruster. So we're just combining something with a sit to stand or a box squat. We talked about that in one of our levels. But we're gonna use the arms a little bit to reach overhead with thruster. So we'll warm shoulders up a little bit here with this one. Might feel a little tightness in your hamstrings as you go down. Perfectly normal. It's good to work through that. It's good to go to that point that you feel tightness. Let that muscle loosen up a little bit, let it warm up. How you feeling, Dr. James? Hips getting warmed up?
Yeah,
good?
I feel good. I mean, you said it. My hips are getting warmed up, so definitely feeling ready to get after this workout today. I can tell it's going to be a tough one looking at what's on the board there.
Yeah, all right, so there's our minute. All right, so now we're jogging in place. So we're not doing high knees here, okay? We're not trying to see how high we can get the knees and switch quickly. Certainly that gets more intense. If you feel like you want to do that and increase range, by all means have at it. But really just trying to make a quick switch from one foot to the other, getting a little bend in the knees and the hips. This is gonna get heart rate up a little bit. That's a good thing. We haven't done workouts in the past that would get the heart rate up really high. We certainly had some that got the heart rate up a little bit, but this is gonna get it up a little bit higher. But again, we've been trying to progress you guys week by week, workout by workout. So we thought it was appropriate. We did have a good conversation about whether to do this or whether to do jumping jacks. As Dr. James pointed out, a jumping jack puts you in a situation where both feet come off the ground at the same time. So a little different than this one. But yeah, it's always an interesting conversation when we talk about movements and which one's tougher, and progressions and things thereof. All right, almost there. All right, now we're into a thruster here. So we got a 10-pound dumbbell. You need to pick a weight that is appropriate. And what he's doing is when he comes up, he's pressing that weight up overhead. It might not be a weight at all. You might feel like you still need to just use body weight and you need to reach overhead. That's perfectly fine. It might be a soup can, it might be a bottle of water. Maybe it's two, okay? Maybe it's a dumbbell. In terms of getting into a discussion about intensity levels and stabilization, if we hold one implement, which is a dumbbell, our arms are connected. There's stability there. What if we split it and there's two? So maybe you got 2 water bottles instead of 1. Now each arm has to stabilize independently. So now we're getting into a set of muscle groups. We can start having a conversation about your rotator cuff, what that does for you. So keep that in mind too. I wouldn't spend a ton of time thinking about that, but if you feel like that you need to use a lighter weight, probably a good idea to hold one thing. If you feel like you can maybe go a little heavier, you feel like, hey, these workouts haven't been, incredibly intense, grab two, perfectly fine, all right? All right, so out of the thrusters, we're going into a forward lunge. We're gonna alternate this time. Previous videos, we've done one leg at a time, but today we got a back lunge coming up a little bit later at some point. So make sure when you step, you make an appropriate stride. You don't wanna go too far and have that back leg way behind you, pull on that hip. It puts your joints in a slightly different position there. Maybe going to in range, might challenge balance a little too much. We'll get a side view of this one at some point. We'll stick in here for you. But as he steps out in front, that front leg, the knee is over the top of his ankle, and the back leg, the knee is up under the hip. So we're almost establishing like a 90 degree angle there, front leg and back leg. If you feel like that you can't come all the way up because of difficulty, then shorten up the range of motion, shorten up the distance a little bit, go a little bit more shallow. If you got some discomfort somewhere, make it a little bit more shallow. All right, so now we're gonna do a little bit of sidestepping here. All right, so we've done some sidestepping in the past in some videos here. We've done it as like one step over, one step back. We've done a couple. We thought it appropriate today to, again, progress, and we're gonna add a little bit of resistance here. So this band, I call it a hip circle. If you type in hip circle online, you're probably gonna find this. You might find other things too. I call it a hip circle simply because the band is a circle and it's working the hips. Now, one of the first ones I saw, that's what it was called. And so anyway, that's just what I've continued to call it. But I found these on Amazon. It came as a pack of 3, and there's 3 different resistance levels. This is the medium one. First time we started using these, we used the light one a good bit. We quickly felt like we needed some more. Now it definitely depends on how many reps we're doing, how far we're going. Sometimes we do off a distance here, but he's making a nice, slow, controlled motion, sidestepping. It's getting the hips a ton, okay? All right, so right out of that, we're going into a back lunge. So here, he's gonna come up to the front of the mat, and when we get into the lunge position, what we've got is same concept here on the range of motion. We've still got that 90 degree angle if we're going all the way to full depth. Definitely wanna keep the knee over that front ankle, and definitely wanna try to keep that knee up under that back hip. The depth is optional, okay? Go a little more shallow if you need to. But going backwards and returning forward is gonna work muscles slightly differently than going forward and then returning, going backwards, okay? We won't dive into all that necessarily for this video, but works a little bit differently. I would argue it challenges balance a little bit differently too, moving backwards instead of forward. What you think?
I think this is tough.
Yeah, you feel it in the legs?
Yeah.
All right, almost done with these. All right, so we threw this one in next. This is gonna be some toe raises here. So we went from working bigger muscle groups to now a smaller muscle group. Previous video we did, I think it's been 2 or 3 weeks ago now, we leaned up against the wall, put our back against it for some stability, and we worked on toe raises, okay? Dorsiflexion at the ankle, bringing the front of the foot up. We talked about the importance of that every time that we walk. Definitely if we're running, we've got to clear the foot over the floor as it swings forward. And so this muscle does that. Sometimes this muscle has to work harder than it should because the muscle that opposes it on the back, which is your calf, is actually a little bit too tight. Maybe Achilles tightness, calf tightness. So if you feel that pulling a ton, maybe you go back to a stretch. We did that in a previous video, which was like this right here. Okay. We kept heel down, we kept knee straight, and we stretched our calves. So if you're feeling a lot of pulling in your calf while you do the toe raise, you probably need to stretch that calf a little bit, okay? All right, so now we're gonna go down to the mat. We have been progressing you guys down to the floor to do various things, all right? So here, we got a variation of a bridge. So Dr. James is gonna hold the bridge the whole time, but he's gonna march back and forth. So working on some single leg stability without asking you to stand on one foot for a period of time or do something in a single leg stance. But certainly using glutes to come up initially, establish position, using some back muscles too to stabilize. But every time he lifts one foot, the other side that's still on the mat has got to do a little bit more work. It's got to work by itself. And that can promote some single leg stabilization, which we do need for walking, okay? How are your hips feeling?
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say hardest part of this has been cardiovascular.
Okay.
Heart rate. Terminal heart rate's feeling it more than anything.
Nice.
It's coming down now after the toe raises, then coming down to the bridge position.
All right, there's time on this one. So now we're gonna go into a double knee to chest. We did a single knee to chest, alternating in the previous video, getting in a little bit of your hip flexors, your psoas, which is one of your hip flexors, getting in a little bit of core too. This one is gonna challenge core a little bit more, okay? We don't have one leg on the mat while the other one's moving, so we don't have any assistance from it. And in order to lift the legs, your hip flexors have to contract. They attach to something. Your psoas attaches to your back, and so therefore you need your core to engage to stabilize and help make this motion. If you come far enough and your pelvis rotates, well, now guess what? We've worked abdominals a little more because they had to shorten to produce motion over your pelvis, okay? I would definitely say before you lift your feet, tighten your core, tighten your abs, think about pulling your belly button to your spine so you can protect it and therefore lift those legs, okay?
Think about flattening your back down to the floor, pushing that low back into the floor.
Definitely. All right, so now we're gonna go up to quadruped. We worked this position a good bit in some videos recently. So slightly different motion that we got here. So we did some donkey kicks from quadruped. We worked some glutes. We did some mule kicks as well, which was just a slight variation. So here we got hip extension, but instead of asking you guys to lay all the way down flat on your stomach, which might challenge back, might challenge hips in terms of mobility, we're gonna do it this way, okay? So he's weight bearing through his left leg, both arms, and the right leg is in full extension, and he's just using glute muscles in order to extend the hip, okay? A little bit of hamstring here also, but mostly glute the whole time. I would think this probably get a little spicy towards the end because we're doing one leg for an entire 60 seconds and then switching. But what you think, Dr. James? A little spicy?
Getting a little spicy.
Getting a little spicy.
In my buttock.
Almost there. All right, 5 seconds. 5 seconds, and then we're switching legs. Make sure we share the spiciness between both sides here. Speaking of spiciness, so we had a softball tournament yesterday in Milledgeville, and when we left, we decided to eat at Chili's. Order something that I don't normally order, and anyway, it was super spicy.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was like this Chipotle Tex-Mex bowl. Maybe the name says it's going to be a little bit spicy, but far more spicy than I thought. I don't do a lot of spicy stuff anyway. But yeah, so it reminded me of the dinner I had last night.
My wife eats a lot of spicy stuff. She likes it. I'm like Dr. Brandon. I don't like it too much. If I smell something spicy, I'll start sweating.
My kids like these chips called Takis. I don't know if you guys have ever seen them before, but holy cow. Talk about like set your mouth on fire. Yeah, rough. Almost there, 3 seconds. 2, 1. All right, now we're going back to your back here. All right, so that was our 10 minutes of our workout. Now we got a cool down, and we're gonna do some lower trunk rotations. We're just loosening some things up. Just gonna loosen your back up a little bit too. So laying on your back, got feet together, knees together, and Dr. James is just rotating side to side. Go as far as you feel like you need to go. If you go far enough, you're probably gonna hit a point where you feel some stretch in the opposite hip and into the opposite side of your low back. So he rotates left, right side's getting some stretch. As he rotates right, left side's getting some stretch. Not meant to be done fast. Go slow. We're just moving some things around. Again, this is cool down, so we're letting the heart rate come back down and just moving some blood around. In the clinic, we have patients do these sometimes, and sometimes I have patients hold the position for 5 to 10 seconds. So if you do that, you feel a good stretch, you're like, wow, this feels good. I wanna hold this, by all means, hold it. That's perfectly fine, okay? All right, almost there. All right, there's time. So now we're gonna do a little bit of a reach here, going towards your toes. So we get a little bit of a hamstring stretch. There's that word stretch again. Sorry, Dr. James. All right, so what are we doing here in stretching this muscle? So we're asking this muscle to go to a slightly different length from one connection or one attachment over to another. We worked hamstrings a little bit, so heart rate is still coming down. We're just putting that muscle in a slight elongated position, if you will. We're not physically making it longer, right? We're not adding like length to it, but we're asking it to go through a longer range, okay? So loosen that up a little bit here. this is our last thing. So if you've been watching us and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't liked the video yet and you do like it, please by all means hit that like button. If you want to comment on it, please comment on it. We would love feedback. We've been going at this long enough now with some weeks and some videos. We want to know what you guys are looking for. We want to know if you like the content we're putting out. We're brainstorming about what to do in the future. So hit us with some comments, let us know as we continue to grow the channel.
Yeah.
Cool, hope you enjoyed that one.
Thanks for watching.